This horrible deed that was committed last night in Colorado. Was it Aurora? Was that the name of the country?
I think it was Aurora.
If that happens, people are going to be, our leaders are going to be more sympathetic. But who wants to give the UN control of anything that has to do? Once they get their foot in the door, then they're going to be demanding taxes.
But if one
That's their
person,
goal.
United States
That's their
government.
goal.
if one person in that audience would have been trained and had a gun
Concealed?
permit, concealed weapon permit, he could have stopped
Yeah.
a lot of that.
Exactly.
But if he had, they wouldn't have said anything about it because this has happened lots of times across the United States where a man had a concealed weapons permit and stopped something, and the news media won't talk about it.
But
Because it's a conspiracy,
Yeah,
and I know the C word is going to get, but it's a conspiracy, and they've got to take our guns in order to take this country.
And not to be, like Jim said, it is conspiratorial in many ways because the suspicion that an event like this would occur at such a time like this with an international treaty which would supersede our constitutional rights, which would force gun owners in America to give international registration, which would include personal information about themselves, their location, etc., to an international governing body that can impose whatever it wants upon the American citizens and have our law enforcement impose those rules to make us comply, which means our tax-paying salaries that we pay to our police force and military will be used against us and according to an international rule. Ms. Francis, this is absolutely atrocious. Every citizen should contact their congressmen in their states and tell them, do not vote our Second Amendment rights away.
That's
Because
exactly
that is
right.
not what's bringing the deaths of these people that took place in Colorado or any of the Columbine and any of these other incidents that come up. What's causing that is the dumbing down of America. We have created through our public educational system, and it's true in other countries as well. France has pretty much thrown over the bus into socialism. Europe as a whole has gone that direction pretty much. So the mindset is to create submissive, passive individuals, and Jim, you brought up a good point because I was listening to Major Maher, who gave a description of the mind control that was placed by our American citizens in captivity during the Korean War, and how when they were finally redeemed, there weren't even guards holding them in. They all willingly stayed themselves because of the brainwashing that took place.
That's
They all
right.
became so passive and concerned with their own needs that they weren't concerned about anybody else. Even watching men get thrown out by fellow soldiers into the cold to freeze to death because they had dysentery and they didn't want the place to stink up or cause them infection. And when they were asked, why didn't you stop this man from doing this, they said, well, it didn't affect me. So we have created a passive society, so we now have worked the other spoke of communism to make most people pacifist, but there are some that are what you would call tattletales. So the tattletales can be your very closest friend and not know it. They will speak against you.
Brainwashing causes
They
them
will,
to report
they
on
will
their
report
rights.
on you and make you look like a hound dog
And they'll also do it, it doesn't have to be brainwashed, they'll do it to protect
to
themselves.
protect themselves.
That,
Precisely.
that's out there. Okay.